Will the coalition break up over a single text message? Now the Greens are coming out of the woodwork again and absolutely want to have a say when they know that this government has no future anymore. And the disputes within the SPD, the CDU, the reform budget, and the entire political spectrum are picking up speed again. And it's a development none of us could have imagined. Because the fact that so much has developed from this afternoon until now might be due to these scorching temperatures, 35 degrees outside, that politicians here in Germany might be acting irrationally. Just a little joke on the side. If you'd like to support this channel, please like and subscribe. Now let's see what's changed since this afternoon, driven by the end of our high growth rates.
And it probably can't be any other way. A subscription, I would really appreciate it. And let's take a look at all these problems together. And it probably can't be any other way if things actually change this afternoon.
Yes, and the big problem is every time there have been reforms, the parties are so dead afterwards that many voter groups don't want to vote for them anymore. And they know that exactly, but they also don't have any money. And the narrative in all federal states is that the AfD will destroy us. But what is actually destroying this country right now is the backlog of reforms. And what did I just mean by that one text message? News has just now also come to the conclusion that I was probably right after all. What did I tell you about Villa Borsic? It was much worse. And yes, of course, the Chancellor said again what I, just casually said with, when a person doesn't remember anything and then accuses other people of lying, others don't think that's particularly good either. And when they then, as usual, go at each other with knives and machetes, that's not particularly good for coalition harmony. Now that Lars Klingbeil and Bärbel Bas have repeatedly bashed the CDU obligatorily by sending the Antifa, the relationship is, let's say, extremely tense. Now they're coming out with that too.
You could already hear from the Pension Commission that they don't want too much political pressure from outside being exerted in advance.
Not so much pressure, guys. You have to make people understand this before the elections. Retirement at 70, you let it leak, and the poll numbers tanked. There were more arguments, new issues came up again, and the poll numbers, were a disaster. At the same time, you guys have already gotten to the point where Hendrik West wants to overthrow the Chancellor. You didn't see the video, definitely check it out. I'll show it right at the end. Yeah, and in the SPD, they're planning a revolt against Lars Klingbeil. I'll show you that as well. So the one on top is the Chancellor video, and the one below is the SPD video. You did it, the Pension Commission did it, almost managed to destroy both parties from within. And now they've realized, maybe we're communicating badly or too much or whatever, and you're surprised that something like this happens right away.
We are a functioning democracy. If the voters no longer like that, they can't make a political directional decision anymore, because after the election, the same parties work together that already worked together before the election. Then one day the voters will give the AfD an absolute majority of seats in parliament, which is not out of the question for the fall for the state of Saxony-Anhalt.
And I have him right here, Schulze, who will explain to you what's behind the whole thing. And no, it's not because there are still too many people here who just won't go home, or people who commit serious crimes here who don't belong here, or because of welfare fraud. Or you won't believe what the reason is, why the AfD is so strong in Saxony-Anhalt. But the question I ask myself is, how long will it actually take until the first states fall, and what will actually be done then? I mean, Hendrik Wurst, I already explained it this morning. He's now distancing himself, and soon he'll have to deal with an AfD member in the Bundesrat. Yes, so if they really had a minister president, then with fewer and fewer people, there would be more and more AfD members in there. He doesn't want that. That's why he wants to become chancellor now, to have the AfD once again. And can someone help me out here? What is 30 plus 30%? Definitely not 15, right?
If we're talking about a pension reform here, then civil servants can't be left out. So there's some movement on the whole issue again. Thank you very much.
But to wrap up this topic before we move on to Saxony-Anhalt, the thing is so complex. I read up on it and I have to say I didn't understand it. I read through what they want now, what they've just been signaling through the channels here. I don't understand how civil servants are supposed to support this pension system in the future. So definitely give me a bit more time on that, but I think at Welt with Patzelt and with so many others, there's still a lot of guesswork at the moment. By the way, Patzelt says it's so highly complex that nobody understands it. Let's finally get to Saxony-Anhalt and the reason why. So many people vote for the AfD.
Geben wird. Right now, we're not in the final stage of the election campaign yet, so current impressions are certainly influencing the polls at the moment. And if we look, the last major poll was conducted when diesel prices were 2.50 euros at the pump here. The last poll also showed to some extent that people are very satisfied with the state government.
On May 13th, the diesel price, and I know this because my in-laws have a diesel, was cheaper again than gasoline. I only know this because I was out myself that weekend. Well, they are very satisfied with the state government in Saxony-Anhalt with approval ratings of 33%. That's typical CDU speak. 33% are very satisfied with no, we still get 33% in the polls, and that's why people must really be satisfied. Oh, guys, do you feel the same way? Facts are being twisted here, but hey, soon some party with just 6.4% will just end up forming the state government because they're aiming for a minority government, or what? What's behind such a brutally stupid statement? The one he made there. And if you think it can't get any worse, then listen to this.
Mr. Schulze, honestly, hand on heart, have you ever thought about who you actually want to form a stable government with in Saxony-Anhalt, regardless of the polls?
So I think in recent years it wasn't always the right decision to say there are topics we deal with less or not at all because they're topics of other parties. For me, what happens after September 6th will be decided by the people. I think we should have a bit more respect for the will of the voters and wait to see what happens on the 6th, happens in September, and not go through all the possible constellations beforehand.
The left is over. We're making policy for productive people here again. And next year, another recession in a row, economic growth is being revised downward. There's no nuclear power. No, of course, it's no longer good to tell people before the elections, yes, we will open up to the left party because we don't have any other chance. For all those who didn't notice, there are only two options left, either left. Left, SPD and CDU. Then let's call them all against the AfD or the AfD. Only one of the two is possible. If they say we want a minority government backed by the others, then they have to get into bed with the left. Otherwise, the whole thing won't work. And since the left knows exactly that the CDU isn't always, well, exactly committed to the truth, that's just what I call it. Or they just brutally lie to people to secure their own positions. I believe that. I really do. Yes. They will form a coalition with the left. And if things keep going like this, well, maybe even the SPD will fail to clear the 5% threshold, which would, of course, be a real shame for all the voters out there, because then you would have to respect the will of the voters. And at the latest, then, yes, we would have a huge problem if they weren't there. Why? Because then the AfD would already have an absolute majority, and even if the CDU could catch up, they would have to open up to the left. There is no other option. And you just made it very clear again, there will be a campaign focused on individual candidates. Everyone against one. And that one has his solid voter base. Not much is going to change there.
If there were to be an absolute majority for the AfD, but they were forced to work with the AfD here and there, yes or no, no?
Yes or no? Yes or no? There's no other answer to that. And just listen for yourselves. And then today, let's get into my final conclusion again. It's going to be a bit longer. I'm sorry in advance.
So I don't intend to work with the AfD, and I'm telling you that, and that's not just my goal, but I'm pretty sure that it will actually happen, that there won't be any AfD ministers or any ministers from the left party in my cabinet. So I'm not just sure about that, I'm convinced of it.
Sure, right now you have about 31% in the polls. The FDP is out now and keeps disappearing in the others category. Of course, sure. So there probably won't be a left party minister. I can actually imagine that quite well. But the majorities, they have to be secured, and the SPD will probably secure them if it even goes through at all. And you can almost hope that the last 2% who vote for the CDU come from the SPD. Then they would have 4.9% and would drop out. So, a personality-driven campaign, dear CDU. If you don't want to make yourselves completely dependent on the left, then I would stop doing that. I would try somehow. I don't even know what I can do. I think the situation is pretty messed up. To call a spade a spade. I think no matter what you do now, it will cost the CDU dearly. You have to be open to someone. And we'll see about that. But I mean, then the CDU will have a bit of peace. But I don't know if North Rhine-Westphalia and also Lower Saxony will take it so well. That's why I would be extremely careful about using such methods. That can really backfire. And I am a little worried that it might be best to just give up on this election campaign because they already want to appoint Hendrik Wüst as Friedrich Merz's successor. By the way, you should definitely check out Merz and Klingbeil from today.